I know you are out there. You're listening. You're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I can't see the future. I'm not here to tell you how this is going to end. I'm here to tell you how this is going to begin. I'm going to start this broadcast, and when I do, I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. A world without controls and boundaries. A world where anything is possible.
And I will tell you, this is owned as a toy by Jeff Bezos, who controls Amazon. Amazon is getting away with murder tax-wise. He's using the Washington Post for power so that the politicians in Washington don't tax Amazon like they should be taxed.
The man, then candidate Donald Trump, mentioned in that clip was Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. Before we go any further, let's take a look into Bezos.
E-commerce pioneer, tech visionary, and a sometimes eccentric billionaire with a legendary laugh. Jeff Bezos founded Amazon.com in 1994. After working on Wall Street for about 8 years, this Princeton computer science grad decided the web was the place to be. He headed to Seattle and changed the course of internet history. Amazon started as an online bookseller, forever disrupting the business of books. Then came movies, music, electronics, toys, and eventually, pretty much everything.
What has worked at Amazon is focusing on the customer.
Jeff got filthy rich.
During his 2016 presidential run, Donald Trump accused Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos of using the Washington Post as a political tool in an agreement with the political establishment to attack Donald Trump to avoid paying taxes. Washington Post closes sale to Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. October 1st, 2013, Amazon.com founder and chief executive Jeffrey P. Bezos formally took over as the owner of the Washington Post on Tuesday, officially ending 80 years of local control of the newspaper by the Graham family. Bezos' $250 million purchase was completed as expected with the signing of sale documents. The signing transfers the newspaper and other assets from the Washington Post to Nash Holdings, Bezos' private investment company.
It is a national institution that is about to start its next chapter. Last month came the stunning announcement that the Washington Post is being bought by Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos for $250 million. This week, Bezos paid his first visit to the legendary paper, and it has been a rough ride at that paper over the last several years. Reporters have been laid off. Circulation has plummeted. The Post has closed bureaus around the country and around the world. But the soon-to-be owner was upbeat. What is his vision? Will it be profitable? And what will it mean for the future of news?
What does it mean for the future of news? That is what we're here to investigate. Let's start by looking into Donald Trump's claim that Jeff Bezos uses the Washington Post for political favors to avoid paying taxes. Establishment talking heads like CNN were quick to come to the defense of the Washington Post. They pointed out that Amazon.com paid $273 million cash in income taxes last year, up from $177 million the year prior and $169 million in 2013. Well, there you have it. CNN reported on the issue. They stated that Amazon.com not only pays taxes, but they actually pay a high percentage of their profits to taxes. And there's nothing else to see here. That's the end of this video. Oh wait, there's more. I came across an article in Newsweek. Let's take a look at that. When Jeffrey Bezos was deciding where to base his new e-commerce business in 1995, Seattle was not his first choice. Instead, the CEO of Amazon, now the world's largest online store, eyed an Indian reservation near San Francisco that would have considerably lowered his tax bill. The state of California quashed that scheme, but Bezos' zeal for tax avoidance did not stop there. Throughout much of Amazon's more than 20-year history, he has carved out competitive tax positions for the company as it expanded globally. His business acumen in that regard has even attracted the wrath of presumptive Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump, who earlier this year accused Bezos of buying the Washington Post to gain political influence and avoid taxes. Newly revealed documents seen by Newsweek from a landmark court case in Seattle between Amazon and the IRS reveal how the company has attained global dominance over competitors in part by moving its global headquarters to a small, landlocked state of Luxembourg. At the heart of Amazon's arrangement with Luxembourg is Jean-Claude Juncker, who was that country's prime minister between 1995 and 2013 and is now president of the European Commission, the European Union's executive branch. For those of you not familiar with Jean-Claude Juncker, this from the UK Sun. Juncker family's linked to the Nazi regime. June 2014. Euro menace Jean-Claude Juncker's dad fought for Hitler in World War II, and his father-in-law was a Nazi sympathizer who persecuted Jews in his home country. Juncker, 59, is tipped to be the European Commission's new president. Juncker recently made headlines when he threatened President Trump and the entire American Union over Brexit.
So Brexit isn't the end. A lot of people would like it that way. Even people on another continent, where the newly elected U.S. president was happy that the Brexit was taking place and has asked other countries to do the same. And if he goes on like that, I am going to promote the independence of Ohio and Austin, Texas, in the United States of America. It's business as usual in Europe. We must continue. We must forge ahead.
Let's forge ahead to the Newsweek article on Amazon.com's tax evasion practices. Project GoldCrest. Amazon's IRS case in the U.S., which could force it to pay more than $1.5 billion in unpaid taxes, has revealed some findings that are, at best, awkward for the company, according to the court. Project GoldCrest, which is still in place, uses a series of complex intercompany contracts to transfer intangible assets, vital software, trademarks, and other intellectual property to one of Amazon's Luxembourg companies, Amazon Europe Holding Technologies. A separate subsidiary, Amazon EU Sarl, then pays AEHT huge sums every year in royalty fees, reducing the amount of taxable income within the company. In return for controlling the European licensing rights, AEHT makes payments to one of Amazon's U.S. companies. U.S. authorities believe these payments are too low, which is why the case has gone to court. Amazon has largely avoided federal taxation by managing its books to avoid reporting any meaningful profits over the past 20 years. In the last quarter of 2015, for example, Amazon paid just $73 million in taxes on $35.7 billion in revenues. But of course, in a world filled with disinformation, we don't take anything at face value, so we track down the court filings between the IRS and Amazon.com. Let's take a look. United States Tax Court, Amazon.com Incorporated, and subsidiaries petitioner versus Commissioner of the IRS, docket number 31197-12, filed on March 23, 2017. Project GoldCrest. Amazon's management decided to establish a European headquarters and assigned its U.S. tax department the task of developing a tax-efficient strategy for doing this. It considered several locations for the European headquarters, including Ireland and Luxembourg, and eventually opted for the latter. Amazon representatives met with Luxembourg authorities, including Jean-Claude Juncker, Luxembourg's then Prime Minister, to discuss the potential for Amazon to locate its European headquarters there. In broad outline, Amazon's plan was to transfer from Amazon US to Luxembourg headquarters affiliate all of the intangible assets required to operate the European website's businesses, to continue using the European subsidiaries as service companies, earning a nominal rate of return, and to have the vast bulk of the income from Amazon's European businesses taxed in Luxembourg at a very low rate. In pursuit of the latter goal, Amazon successfully negotiated an advanced tax return with the government of Luxembourg. After the restructuring, the Luxembourg entity would function as the operational and administrative headquarters for the European businesses and own virtually all of the intangible assets required to operate those businesses. Beginning in 2004, Amazon undertook a series of transactions dubbed Project GoldCrest to implement this plan. GoldCrest refers to Luxembourg's national bird. These transactions were complex. They involved many steps and many entities, but the basic outline can be stated fairly easily. Amazon US formed AEHT, the Luxembourg headquarters entity that would serve as the holding company for all of its European businesses. AEHT elected to be treated as a corporation for U.S. income tax purposes from the date of its formation. Underneath AEHT, numerous subsidiaries were collected, collectively Amazon Luxembourg, to perform various functions essential to operation of the European businesses. These functions included holding title to the inventory sold in Europe, licensing Amazon intellectual property, housing the servers, and maintaining call centers. Amazon Germany, Amazon UK, and Amazon France therefore supplied to Amazon Luxembourg the same types of customer-related fulfillment and support services that they had previously furnished to Amazon US. After forming Amazon Luxembourg, Amazon effected the restructuring by completing 6 related transactions. 1. The cost-sharing arrangement. 2. The license agreement for pre-existing intellectual property. 3. The assignment agreement for pre-existing intellectual property. 4. The European subsidiary contribution. 5. The European business contribution. 6. The 4-party agreement. We have now established that Amazon.com avoids paying taxes by storing money overseas. It is most likely that they do this legally through loopholes in the tax system. The true elites in this country get that by getting political favors from politicians, the political establishment. This serves as a perfect case study. Let's take Amazon.com. Amazon backs leftist politicians who every 4 years demonize the quote-unquote 1%. Why do they do this? Why do they back higher taxes on the 1%? Because these elites, Amazon.com, Bill Gates, Microsoft, Warren Buffett, they know that if taxes are raised on the quote-unquote 1%, these ultra-elites still don't have to pay the taxes because they use tax loopholes. Because they're really the 0.0000001%. And they're the kingmakers. They fund the politicians. They make everything happen. So they back the taxing of the 1%, which is really just anyone who makes over $300,000. Which, if you think about it, is almost every small business in America. So you call for a raise on taxes on every small business in America, and what happens is those small businesses, those mom and pop shops who would compete with Amazon.com, who would compete with Walmart, can't do it because now they're being taxed at a high rate and they go out of business. And their money is redistributed to the lower class, and the middle class just shrinks, and the lower class stays in a perpetual state of poverty, while the people that are believed to be the 1%, that are really the 0.0001%, are paying no taxes and have less competition. And this is why these big businessmen back the Democrats, back the liberal establishment when they say we need to tax the 1%, because they know what they're really doing is stifling competition to create monopolies in the United States, and they're not paying taxes themselves. Now that we've discussed that, let's take a look at another potential conflict of interest regarding the Washington Post. This from Business Insider. The CIA is about to sign a game-changing $600 million deal with Amazon, March 19th, 2013. The CIA is on the verge of signing a cloud computing contract with Amazon worth up to $600 million over 10 years. Amazon and IBM would then have a court case over who could get the CIA contract. This from Business Insider. Cha-ching! Amazon wins court battle with IBM to build a $600 million game-changing cloud for the CIA. October 10th, 2013.
Today, here at the Washington Post headquarters, civil liberties organization Roots Action demanded that the Post be fully candid with its readers over a controversial new relationship. Now, that relationship involves the newspaper's new owner, Jeff Bezos, who also happens to be the CEO of Amazon. Of particular interest to civil liberties advocates is Amazon's recent $600 million contract with the Central Intelligence Agency for cloud computing services. At a press conference that took place here, one activist and former Washington Post reporter had this to say.
I think readers of the Washington Post have a right to know what influences might be brought to bear on the stories they're reading in the paper. It's bad business for journalists in any respect to be tied in with the CIA.
We've now established that Jeff Bezos and Amazon.com store money overseas to avoid paying taxes. We've also established that they have a $600 million contract with the CIA to create a cloud service. It's not known to us what stipulations that contract came with, but shortly around the time that Amazon signed the $600 million contract, Jeff Bezos purchased the faltering Washington Post for $250 million. Since that time, especially over the last year, during the Trump presidential campaign and the Trump presidency, the Washington Post has been the launching point of many of the Russia propaganda stories that you've heard in the news. Many of these stories, as I'm going to demonstrate in the next few clips, are made from anonymous sources that are never identified and can never be proven either to be false or to be true. Let's take a look. February 24th, 2017, State Department writes anti-leak memo, which promptly leaks. The State Department Legal Office prepared a 4-page memo for Secretary of State Rex Tillerson warning of the dangers of leaking by State Department employees. It promptly leaked to me. The source of the leak never given. May 10th, 2017, inside Trump's anger and impatience and his sudden decision to fire Comey. Trump summoned the two of them to the White House for a meeting according to a person close to the White House and never named. May 15th, 2017, I'm sure you guys remember this one, Trump revealed highly classified information to Russian foreign minister and ambassador. President Trump revealed highly classified information to the Russian foreign minister and ambassador in a White House meeting last week, according to current and former U.S. officials, who would never be named, who said Trump's disclosures jeopardize a critical source of intelligence on the Islamic State. May 17th, 2017, House Majority Leader to colleagues in 2016, I think Putin pays Trump. There's two people I think Putin pays, Rockbacker and Trump, McCarthy said, according to a recording of the June 15th, 2016 exchange, which was listened to and verified by the Washington Post. The recording was never obtained, and the source was never named. May 19th, 2017, Russia probe reaches current White House official. People familiar with the case say. The law enforcement investigation into possible coordination between Russia and the Trump campaign has identified a current White House official as a significant person of interest, showing that the probe is reaching into the highest levels of government, according to people familiar with the matter. The people familiar with the matter were never named. May 22nd, 2017, Trump asked intelligence chief to push back against FBI collusion probe after Comey revealed its existence. President Trump asked two of the nation's top intelligence officials in March to help him push back against an FBI investigation into possible coordination between his campaign and the Russian government, according to current and former officials. The current and former officials were never named. May 26, 2017, I'm sure you remember this one. Russian ambassador told Moscow that Kushner wanted secret communications channel with Kremlin. Jared Kushner and Russia's ambassador to Washington discussed the possibility of setting up a secret and secure communications channel between Trump's transition team and the Kremlin, using Russian diplomat facilities in an apparent move to shield their pre-inauguration discussions from monitoring, according to U.S. officials briefed on intelligence reports. The U.S. officials briefed on intelligence reports were never named. June 6th, 2017, top intelligence official told associates Trump asked him if he could intervene with Comey on FBI Russia probe. The nation's top intelligence official told associates in March that President Trump asked him if he could intervene with then FBI Director James B. Comey to get the Bureau to back off its focus on former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn in its Russia probe, according to officials. Those officials were never named. June 14th, 2017, Special Counsel is investigating Trump for possible obstruction of justice, officials say. The special counsel overseeing the investigation into Russia's role in the 2016 election is interviewing senior intelligence officials as part of a widening probe that now includes an examination of whether President Trump attempted to obstruct justice, officials say. Those officials were never named. The Washington Post has been the launching point for story after story accusing the Trump administration of colluding with the Russian government. After the Washington Post releases a story naming an anonymous source The corporate mainstream media echo chamber reports the story as if it's fact. This is propaganda. This is how you brainwash the public into believing something's happening when it's not. You release story after story with anonymous source after anonymous source, and eventually, a lot of the public just believes it to be true. We have documented that Amazon.com and Jeff Bezos do in fact use tax loopholes by storing money overseas to avoid paying taxes. We documented that Amazon.com has a $600 million contract with the CIA.
I don't know if you've seen that, but we know about the Clinton machine. We know they play dirty. We know they'll say and do anything to get elected. Between that and the Washington Post announcing that they have put 20 people to dig into every single phase of your life, are you prepared for what's coming? It's not if it's coming, but when it's coming.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because every hour we're getting calls from reporters on the Washington Post asking ridiculous questions. And I will tell you, this is owned as a toy by Jeff Bezos, who controls Amazon. Amazon is getting away with murder tax-wise. He's using the Washington Post for power so that the politicians in Washington don't tax Amazon like they should be taxed. He's getting absolutely away. He's worried about me, and I think he said that to somebody. It was in some article where he thinks I would go after him for antitrust, because he's got a huge antitrust problem because he's controlling so much. Amazon is controlling so much of what they're doing. And what they've done is he bought this paper for practically nothing, and he's using that as a tool for political power against me and against other people. And I'll tell you what, we can't let him get away with it. So he's got about 20, 25. I just heard they're taking these really bad stories. I mean, they're wrong. I don't even say bad. They're wrong. And in many cases, they have no proper information, and they're putting them together, they're slopping them together, and they're going to do a book. And the book is going to be all false stuff because the stories are so wrong. And the reporters, I mean, one after another. So what they're doing is he's using that as a political instrument to try and stop antitrust, which he thinks, I believe, he's antitrust. In other words, what he's got is a monopoly. And he wants to make sure I don't get in. So It's one of those things. But I'll tell you what. What he's doing is wrong, and the people are the whole system is rigged. You see a case like that, the whole system is rigged.
That's
whether
pretty
it's Hillary
correct. I
or
think that's a
whether
good
it's
point.
Bezos.
Yeah, well,
No, he's using, he's using the Washington Post, which is peanuts, he's using that for political purposes to save Amazon in terms of taxes and in terms of antitrust.
The reason you don't see reports like this from the mainstream media is because you don't get investigative journalism from the mainstream media. You get talking points from the political establishments on the left, the right, and especially the big corporations that control those establishments. Support my operation. I'm trying to expand, but I need your help. Go to www.patreon.com, Tom Anderson, become a patron, join the Liberty Movement.